Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Fun with Flame. I'm your host, Daniel the Flame. Let's get right into it, shall we? So, I watched the first three episodes of Vox Machina. If you don't know what that is, it's a Amazon original animated series, or more so, an adult animated series that deals with fantasy. Now, off the bat, this is not a good show. It really isn't. It has merit. By all means, does have merit. The idea is so sound, it's retarded. Now that we've basically become oversaturated with superhero shit, and that's kind of a main staple with Amazon, um, really kind of coining in on the whole adult superhero thing with the boys as well as Invincible, and then them trying to dabble into the they've been doing it, but more so just in the animation scale, you really don't get too many things that are kind of an adult version of fantasy tales. You kind of had that Witcher 2D animated movie that came out, but that was really if you know anything about the characters or just like Richard lore and whatnot, it was kind of just weird. And then I believe that was Netflix, but it's just it was just something that was like, yeah, that actually is a breath of fresh air for a concept. Having a ragtag group of adventurers, not the noble heroes that everyone worships and whatnot, with this expansive world, and all you got to do is just create interesting lore, make the characters likable, and then just have adult jokes and whatnot, but still some pretty decent or good or okay action or something like that. Anything that would make that passable, like anything that you're lacking, just try to make passable, but then heighten everything else. That's generally all you have to do. So it coming off the cusp of essentially having the same type of animation style as damn near everyone now that tries to go into a pseudo adult themed anime ish kind of cartoon series. It either looks like Teen Titans, the original Teen Titans, or Avatar. This looks like Avatar. So, yeah, whoopity doo. Obviously, that means that they're really stagnant on a lot of aspects. They have anime esque type of expressionisms and things like that within the series, but at the same time, it really falls flat if you're not able to deliver it with some type of actual comedy. Just because you have a character blush when they're embarrassed in an anime style, it doesn't mean anything. It's like it doesn't. That's not the joke. That shouldn't be a joke. You need to have more with it. That shit falls flat in anime a lot of times because of the fact that they don't essentially associate things like that, or a lot of their comedy stylings will actually come within the concept of puns or play on words, which would supersede certain notions within the comedy. Just so it's like you take it from the source, but you don't really know what the fuck the source is. So it's like, and now you don't even know what you're selling. It will kind of have that kind of impasse, but essentially just stifling with so much anime-esque type stuff, but really no type of identity of its own. The show itself is incredibly boring. Yeah, they curse and you have people essentially wanting to have sex and fuck and suck and all that junk. That's cool. Like that. Like I said, it's not like that's a bad thing, or like it's like there's anything wrong with that, or something that wouldn't even be watchable. By all means, like it was very interesting. The problem is that it didn't mean anything. And it's like, yeah, they curse and whatnot, but so, and it was like, just because you got a bunch of people swearing doesn't necessarily mean that they're like badass or anything, or like that means that they're a step above the rest or anything like that. And it's like, nah, you actually need to do something with that. These characters actually need some type of sustenance. So therein lies one of the major problems of Vox Machina. This is a character driven series, because these characters have motivations, wants, needs, desires, and all that blah blah blah. It's just that it dives into the realm of selfish, self-centered, and greedy and whatnot. So things that typically you don't get within a fantasy story and all that. And that's again fine, cool. I'm okay with that. The problem is that just because you essentially kind of make your characters assholes in order to fit that realm of concept, they actually need to be likable assholes. Just because you have a big stupid guy that wants to kill everybody, and then you make the joke of this stupid guy wants to kill everybody, and he's like, "Yeah, I just want to kill everybody." Do something. Like, you can't. That can't just be it to him, you know. And it's not like going, well, if you keep watching, then later we go into their backstory. Well, no, fuck that. Like, now, when I first see this asshole, I need to sit here and go, yeah, this guy's an asshole, but I like this guy. It doesn't matter what his backstory is, or what his tragic past is, or what any other hinting information lead that's explored in later or whatnot. And it's like, no, your first introduction to this dude is my first impression of this guy. So how the fuck do you mess this up? Well, you made him boring. And it was like, yeah, he's just a big lunkhead. And it was like, what else? No, there's more coming. There's more coming. Fuck that. I don't want to wait for the rest that's coming. Like I said, I only seen the first 3 episodes because, well, actually, no, I didn't see the first 3 episodes. Saw the first 2, I believe. Yeah, because it's like, yeah, there was nothing to the series. It really had just ridiculousness going on. It kind of had that thing where essentially you have all the characters understand and identify and commit to being just these worthless kind of assholes type people. And I keep saying that because essentially that's what the show tried to play off, is that every single character is an asshole. And for whatever fucking reason, this is supposed to correlate as interesting. This is a clear sign of bad writing, and it happens a lot, far more often than you would think. Hell, and this is coming from Amazon, and like literally talking about previous series I was thinking of, The Boys and Invincible have had that same clear cut of an aspect of a failure of a character in that realm, where it's like, yeah, just because they're an asshole doesn't give a pass for me to actually like them. Some people get off, or they care about a dude just basically being a dick, and then it's like, yeah, he's a dick, but he's on a mission, and I like what he's doing because he doesn't really give a damn, much like the main dude on The Boys. And a lot of people give him a pass for his stuff, but I criticize the fuck out of it because I was like, why the fuck would anyone listen to him? Why are they listening to him? Why are we doing with this guy? He's a selfish ass, and it really doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it's stupid. And then you have Invincible, which people generally flock to because it was like taking a superhero genre, tossing it on his head with a bunch of blood and guts and shit like that. And it was like, yeah, well, the character Invincible is boring. Dude is fucking white bread. Like, it's the world around him that's interesting as shit. Other characters are magnanimous within Invincible, but I'm watching this dude who's just the worst. I mean, asshole didn't even fucking train or nothing like that. That yet his dream was to be a fucking superhero. You seriously, like, I just hate slovenly concepts or motivation or anything like that. And Invincible is ripe with it. Oh, I'm gonna try to stop a crime boss once, got my guts split open, and I'll never do it again. What the fuck are you doing in the first place? Someone asked me to. Why are you listening? Why are you answering the call? Somebody like just stupid shit. But it, like, people look at that and just basically they're just all hopped up on the fact that it's like, oh no, it's superheroes with blood, and it's like, yeah, and there has to be more. And with Vox Machina, it has the same problem. It's like, yeah, you got all these characters that basically are, you're warranting that, like, you know, there's more to them than meets the eye, but it's like, I don't care about them, so why would I care about what's underneath or what they have as a backstory or anything like that? There's nothing interesting about them. Now, weirdly enough, Vox Machina comes from the brainchild of basically a bunch of voice actors doing live D&D podcast or some shit like that, and essentially coming up with the idea like, hey, what if we just do all the quirky, raunchy shit that we talk about in our podcast and actually make that a series? And then they got it done, which is cool. And it was a Kickstarter and all that, so, you know, fans helped them out, as fans do, and that's cool. That's cool. Problem is that, yeah, their talent was at voice acting, not writing. Oh, I went there, but it just it really shows just how fucking boring the series is. I did not find enjoyment in anything. I did not laugh at any of their fucking jokes. I snickered at about like 3 of them, but nothing was actually funny. everything was just either incredibly bloody or just really gory, or basically it teetered on that line of like going over, like it was like just balancing on the line of like, yo, you can cross the line and actually be something of your own identity or your own show and make something out of it. And they never did. And it wasn't even like they were teasing they were going to cross the line. They just, you knew they were never crossing that line. And it was lame. It was just really lame. Quick to throw in gay shit and just really exorbitantly greedy characters or people just talking about ridiculous stuff or going off tangents and whatnot. Typical hack me writing shit that you see nowadays in a lot of adult themed animation shows that basically ain't got no fucking soul. Damn near like some hollowed out American Dad Family Guy shit. Where it's like, yeah, this isn't entertaining, and there's a reason why those shows basically are only being pushed through because of longevity rather than actual talent or actually good writing or anything like that. Hell, look at Simpsons. As much as I love Simpsons, after Disney got them, they hollowed their soul out like a motherfucker. Got revenge for that goddamn Simpsons movie crack. I'll tell you that. But it just really was nothing of a series. At one point, they tried to do something to subvert the expectations, which was just a horrible cliche and it's a telltale sign of bad writing when motherfuckers try to sit there and subvert expectations. But anyone with a brain that's basically looking at anything could basically tell you, like, yeah, that dude's the dragon. He's the only one to survive when the dragon was on a mission to kill everybody. Why the fuck is he the only one to survive? He was just there. Stupid. But here we go. And I was like, no, there's no way you would believe that because we didn't show it. Also, just ironically, one of the main characters can just sense dragons. Why? Because fuck you, that's why. No, you see, her village was attacked, and ever since then, she could sense when a dragon is near. Does that make sense to anybody? Even in the realm or world of doing magic, is that something that just clicks? I mean, you could have made that better. She somehow got dragon blood on her. Somehow something happened within the interaction between her and a dragon, which would condone such an ability. Otherwise, the fuck? Like you just, my dragon senses are tingling. There's a dragon nearby. A dragon, I say. So fucking stupid. But just a hollowed out, pathetic attempt of a series. They did shit that basically was like, yeah, I know these people are gonna die, or yeah, this is totally gonna happen, and it was just uncreative and unwarranted. I mean, the initial um, cleverness of the series that I thought was actually going to make it into something was when the bard introduced all the characters and in his rhyme, which was interesting. And then you had the two twins, and basically they kind of like they themselves even forgot what their name was, and that was like one of the only moments in the series where I was like, all right, that was funny. And I was like, that was funny, but that was it. And yeah, it just was a really hollow fucking show. So there was nothing to it and nothing I expect from it. And really just like an abundance of characters that essentially it never even developed. And it's like, well, you didn't give it a shot. It was just the first two episodes. Right, but it's the first two episodes and I'm watching these guys. Like waiting for character development while when I'm uninterested in the characters is stupid. That is incredibly stupid. That is a waste of fucking time. That is just beyond a waste of time. You don't do shit like that. All right. Like, not because you can expect something later or whatnot, but no, seriously, this shit is boring. And you're telling me that, well, it might get better later, or I might have something to look forward to because, well, I don't know everything about everybody yet. That's not cool. I don't care. Like, what the fuck? And just like how I'm able to basically disassociate myself with that, I can easily watch two episodes and just call it quits because I expect nothing from this. And then ending on a note by showing a character and then a dude getting out of a carriage and then slaughtering a bunch of people. And so you see blood go everywhere. It's supposed to make me feel that, oh, like here comes a new challenger, or these characters now have to deal with some other craziness. I don't give a fuck. Like, what the fuck? How is this? What? Oh man, just the worst. And it's terrible that it just has such bad writing. But like I said, the concept is divine. It if only someone could do that. Well, if there's one thing that could be said about recent things that have came out, it could the main thing would be about for Lord of the Rings. If you want to talk about nerddom or just geek culture, fans and stuff like that, the Lord of the Rings debacle is very much, as like a lot of people keep phrasing it, a big fucking sign that you know Hollywood doesn't care about source material. They don't care about fans. They don't care about keeping shit within continuity. People just want to make a quick buck and they don't give a damn who they got to walk over in order to do it. I mean, you name me a Fortune 500 company that essentially got to the top by being nice and kind, and I'll show you $1 million in my bank account. But um, it's it's sad that what's happening to Lord of the Rings is happening. But in all honesty, you get what you deserve. Now I know, like initially, you would think like, "Oh, how could I say that?" But no, I have every right to say that because Dragon Ball Evolution exists. So yes, I've seen the tragedy and the trap and just the the stupidity, the magnanimous stupidity that comes with motherfuckers essentially believing that they know better than you do, in terms of how you should be a fan or how you should respect and view something. Now, luckily, I would say when Dragon Ball Evolution came out, we weren't in an age where Twitter was such a big fucking deal or anything like that. I don't believe even Twitter was out when that movie released, but it was still the digital age and whatnot. And that movie got like rightfully shitted on like it was supposed to. But in all honesty, it never should have been made in the first fucking place. That's the problem. The problem was that someone had the idea of going, let's take the amazing IP of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and all its affiliates and make a goddamn real life movie. We'll get Akira Toriyama to even sign off on it. That way we can let the fans know that for sure this shit is legit. Then we'll have the genius idea of having Chow Yun Fat play Master Roshi because that makes total fucking sense. And then I'll just make up whatever the fuck I want to, put the characters in there. As long as I keep the names of Goku, Chi-Chi, Bulma, and Yamcha, everything will be hunky-dory. It will be so fine. Everyone will love me because I did what no one else has dared to do, which is to take the greatest anime of all time and make it a live-action movie. How wonderful am I? And it was shit. It was total shit. So yeah, like I said, you get what you deserve because essentially, in allowing shit like that to happen prior to all of what's going on within Lord of the Rings, essentially, you now got your comeuppance. You thought your shit was untouchable. You thought you were, and like there was no way anyone else was gonna fuck up Lord of the Rings worse than what Peter Jackson did in The Hobbit, which, in by comparison, is bad and was not good or in following the story or anything like that, but more so just an annoyance in the legacy of what he did because you cannot forget the majesty that he presented within the original Lord of the Rings movies. But with the Hobbit movie, it was like, all right, dude, you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Die the hero, live long enough to see yourself become the villain. And so that's what you got. And it was like, as long as that was it, fair play, fair deuce, we're good. It's okay. You haven't completely destroyed the wonder of Lord of the Rings, but at the same time, you did not do well. Um, Damn near equivalent to fucking George Lucas and doing the prequels in correlation to the original trilogy of Star Wars. And then look what happened after the fact when they sold the rights to Star Wars. Oh, you Star Wars fans, aren't you just reeling on the floor, still screaming? And then they saw what happened to Lord of the Rings, and like a couple of them were Lord of the Rings fans as well. So they just and that's currently what you got going on. Now, I don't mean it like it's kind of sounds like I'm coming off disrespectful and whatnot, and I'm kind of like throwing shade at your plight, but at the same time, I just want to make it assuredly understand, like for you to understand that I feel for you. Like I seriously do believe that this is a horrible thing that's happening within the context of a lore and the standpoint of anyone who cares about anything, continuity wise, character wise, or even just the immersive as well as incredibly detailed fucking world that Tolkien made that people love so much and so dearly. And like I said, I understand the hardship that comes with seeing someone like motherfucking Amazon ruin that for check boxes and dumbass agendas and shit like that. By all means, I understand how fucked up that is. What I'm trying to convey is the fact that essentially you allowed this to happen because of the fact that you were unfazed by all of the other things that have been basically affected hereafter by other shit previously. I've been pissed since long before Lord of the Rings got what they got going on. And the thing is that if the Lord of the Rings fandom was to have possibly nutted up and stopped this shit from affecting or affiliating other things that they've seen basically within the woodworks, then they probably would have had the mindset to essentially back everyone else and other things in order to make sure those don't get affected. That way, when the system works its way into Lord of the Rings, then it wouldn't get affected. But you didn't do that. You didn't do that because you didn't care because it wasn't bothering you. It's the common plight where essentially like, hey, not my problem. And then as soon as something happens to you, now it's my problem. And so, but now that it's your problem, it's too fucking late. So that show is going to come out. People are going to see what it is. And then what's even worse is that you're going to have some people who actually like it. Oh, isn't that painful? Fuck. Like that's the worst of the worst about it is that there will be people who actually like it. Oh man, and that's just terrible. But what what I'm mainly trying to get at is not just being like, ha ha, ha, it's your fault. Now your thing is getting ruined too. No, 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 that's not it at all. If anything, I feel far more taken back by what's happening to Tolkien's work than quite possibly anyone else because of the fact that this is something that realistically is not up for debate. This fandom, this work of art, these characters, the story and the world that was written, this isn't something that you can implement the same mindset that you would have for a bunch of other dumb shit. I mean, Amazon just did that fucking, was it like Wheel of Time show or whatever that no one talked about because who the fuck cares? Which was just, another, if like all fantasy things, a knockoff of Tolkien shit. Now, the crazy thing is that Tolkien's work is just the perfect antithesis of original. There is nothing more original than his work. And it all comes from that man's mind. And he put in so much effort to making it as insanely detailed as it is. And it became as insanely popular as it did. And it's not to say that, the books alone just were enough to keep everything sustained. It's like, no, Peter Jackson did the damn thing, made that movie come out, and he made that movie, and that movie was fucking awesome. That to the point where it inspired so many people to get invested into the books, and then learn even more about the Hobbit and the Hobbit, Lord of the Rings lore and stuff like that as well. And people who were longtime fans of the books still had their gripes towards the movies, but it was an undeniable fact that that movie was made from a place of love. There's no way I could fit everything into here. And even if you watch the extended edition of those movies, it still isn't everything those books have to offer that explain and establish so much and other stuff and whatnot. And, can't like is like, hey man, just the nature of the beast of the medium that you're using. A book is totally different from a movie. I understand. But at the same time, you cannot deny that it was done and made with a place. It came from a place of love. As much as I don't even care for the Lord of the Rings like stories at all, just don't. I just don't. I'm not someone who basically is not taken back by the fact that it did the damn thing. It's deserving of its fan base as well as deserving of the lore and establishment that it created. It inspired so many fucking fantasy stories prior by introducing and establishing so much that people to this day still use the established characters and creatures and lores and shit like that that was created within Lord of the Rings to explain their own fantasy story. So that's one of the things that I was like, and very appreciative of Lord of the Rings for for handling and establishing that. But at the same time, this is where the ridiculousness of that argument that people are making against why people are so angry and upset at this fucking Amazon show. There's like this is why it's like it's so hard to it's for damn sure it's hard to explain to a normie, because essentially they wouldn't understand where shit originate from, where core concepts come from, or someone being like, why is it the major one I guess I should get into is the argument of why are people upset that there's a black elf? We have dark elves in so many different fantasy stories, or black elves and whatnot in other fantasy stories and whatnot. So why is it so hard to believe that one would exist within Tolkien? And then therein lies the problem of the horrendousness of normies and not understanding source material or not even giving a fuck about originality and whatnot, is that Tolkien's work does not have such a beast. That is something that was created as a byproduct of people copying Tolkien's work. When you remember how Tolkien had elves in the story, yeah. What if they were black skinned? Ooh, dark elves. I got you. And then they spawn millions of stories that have dark elves in them. So, but the original shit that everyone copies, Tolkien stuff, does not have such a thing. So, by being comfortable, by taking from that originality and then spawning all of this other pseudo shit that came thereafter, you then got people that are now comfortable with the concept of a dark elf because they've seen it and heard it all before, but are completely oblivious to the fact that establishing the concept of a dark elf within the lore of a world that does not have that is completely foreign, and as well as just ridiculous and nonsensical. Like if it can be implemented in other fantasy things, why can't it be implemented here? And it's like, well, this fantasy work isn't something that is just a generic ripoff. This is the original. This has nothing but originality in it, as well as an incredibly detailed continuity, lore, history, what have you. It is incredibly detailed, far well researched, as well as beloved. So all of those elements work against you being like, well, I'm comfortable as well as I identify and I normalized the concept of a dark elf, black people within certain different race groups and whatnot, um, people of different genders as well as ethnicities collating and living together within a fantasy world and element and whatnot. I'm comfortable with all that because I've seen it a million times before. But the reason that other people are not comfortable with it and why they think that it's such a disservice to what you're working on is because of the fact that what you're working on does not have that. You're adding something that literally cannot exist in this original work. It has actually went through painstaking ways to ensure that it cannot exist within this work. And just simply because you got a feeling, Black Eyed Peas, means that you definitely should just implement that feeling. Be damned. Continuity, characters, the lore, or even the fucking historians that exist explaining and giving information about said books. And that's something else that I believe puts what was another reason that puts Tolkien's work above so much in terms of fandom is the fact that there's actual people who make professions. Their life's work is being a historian that keeps up with all the context within his lore. Like, do you realize how fucking awesome that is? Like, I would love to make a piece of work that would establish something like that later on in life. And Lord knows that I'm striving for it now. But my God, is that amazing. And it's like your work is so evasive, so just earth-shattering, fucking life-changing, that people dedicate their lives to being able to interpret, talk about, and just continuously facilitate and teach about your work. Like these people are just like seriously, like you can see them and they're known for being token historians or token scholars. And it's like, nigga, what? Like that is such an awesome thing. That's such an awesome concept for someone who basically put in the fucking work to establish his work like that. I love that idea behind it. Like I said, don't care for Lord of the Rings at all. Do not care. Saw the 3 movies, didn't give a fuck. But at the same time, it's what Tolkien accomplished and what he was trying to do and what he did that I respect like crazy. As someone who also creates shit, I respect that like a motherfucker. And it's like that is dope. And I'll never knock that away from him or anything like that. I don't give a damn what I feel about his work. Man, this is work, whatever. I was like, that's whatever. It's like, dude, but what you accomplished with that work, the fact that this has inspired so many different things that I actually enjoy is amazing. The fact that this inspired so many people whom inspired other people is amazing. The fact that you were able to create this and it brought upon a world that just opened the eyes of so many people, as well as lead a director to make an amazing piece of movie that that instill was barely able to even get a fraction of what your books actually had as your original idea is fucking amazing. And there's like no one should ever knock that from Tolkien's work. No one should ever knock that. But it's like it screams out so much in terms. It just man, it's like I'm trying to think of the right words to explain what the fuck I'm talking about, but it's like I keep blanking. But it's so understandable why so many people are up in arms against this. Why this is such a heated discussion and why this is such a hated um established content that's being brought upon by Amazon doing just the biggest clusterfuck that they could ever possibly imagine. I mean, I believe they sunk in $1 billion into this damn thing, and they've already like planned on it being serious, like like it just taken off in leaps and bounds and whatnot. But that not actually being the case. We'll see what the future may bring, but it's like I said, it's just something where it's like it's so easy to get wrapped up in what you believe and what you think or what you want to happen or how not to offend people, how we need mass representation, and it was like we got to make sure you have black people involved in this, got to make sure you have another like certain people of interest or people of color and whatnot. Can't dissuade these people and this people and all that. And I've spoken on this how this hollows out anything because you're so worried about offending people or trying to make sure that enough people get representation that you don't even create a fucking soul for anything that you're making. It has no merit, no purpose of being. It just exists in order to hit all those check boxes, to not offend anyone, to give these different peoples of color a voice that they never asked for, let alone needed from this piece of work in order to represent them. And yet, here we are. So having that being the case with in terms of the enemy, because by all means these people are the enemy, they will forever be the enemy. By having that be their namesake for everything that they fucking create and everything that they make, you then have the opposition, which is people who essentially know what the fuck they're talking about. And it's gotten so easy to essentially wave against fans outcry or to even bring up any type of issue that they have with something simply because of the fact that it's just you got these people who believe like their shit don't stink. Now it's totally different when you have something where it's like it's your own shit that you're making, and then people are upset at what you're making because yeah, who knows, it's like whatever it is that you're making and they got a problem with, but it's like you made it, whatever, haters gonna hate. There's nothing wrong with that. That is understandably a reason to be like, yeah, you wave against the haters. You do what you want to do, despite what people may think. Sure, but it's totally different when you're not making your own shit. You're, what is it? Adapting someone else's shit. This is something that has existed far before your career even started, or this is something that has touched so many people over so many different fucking decades, and it has became its own, and like it is its own beast. It is something that is revered. It's something that people study. It's something that people know a great deal about, and then you decide to change it in accordance to how you think it should be received, much like what happened with Dragon Ball Evolution. And then in doing so, all you do is upset and discriminate, as well as just anger anyone that had any type of passion or care for this piece of art. And your response to it is to wave against them, like nah, shoo them away. They have no idea what they're talking about. I know what I'm doing. When it's so fucking obvious just off of first glance that you don't know what you're talking about. You're not doing anything that's correlating or is going to be anything in response to what the fuck we got going on. You're not putting you're not putting the best foot forward in order to make this. You're just making it. You're just doing something. You're taking what is already a pre-established thing, and then you're making it's your own thing. Literally under the guise of that, the fact that if you was to make your own shit, it wouldn't do well. So you need to borrow the name of something else. Otherwise, it ain't gonna sell. People ain't gonna want to look at it because all these check boxes that you're hitting and all of this representation that you want to throw everywhere don't mean shit if people don't look at what you're doing. And the best way to go around people actually not giving a damn about what you're doing, or to even at least look at what it is that you want to do, is to borrow the name of something that's bigger than anything you'll ever make. And I hate that that's a common thing. And I hate the fact that that is just how commonplace you get these people who make this shit have become, is that they just sit there and like no one is understanding or establishing the fact, and it's like, you're so pathetic, because this is pathetic. It's pathetic to be this uncreative when your job is to facilitate and showcase creativity. And I find that disgusting. And is the fact that you have so little creativity that you need to borrow the name of something that's big only to ensure that you can get your message across, because you have no other fucking idea how to do that. Now, it's totally different when and I'm not saying like every time this happens, this is a bad thing. Look at the fucking Joker movie, which took an origin of the character, the Joker. It's just a origin of him. It's not the origin of the Joker. And for damn sure, he didn't get made through falling into the chemicals or wearing the Red Hood outfit, which is his undeniable start. So by not doing that, the movie was still an amazing movie, but that's because respect was put on that fucking name of one of what is arguably one of the greatest villains that have ever been conceived within fucking comic books and now movies. But it doesn't change the fact that someone put respect on that name. They respected the character. They respected what was going on. Well, Joker had black people in it, yes, but that movie was an original idea in being done about that character. It was never meant to. They never explained, nor did they sit there and promote it as being his origin in correlation to how Batman foretells his first run-in with the Joker. It was never done in a way that was ever promoted or done or showcased to fans of Batman, that this is something that you need to sink your teeth in because we're following this, but I want to add some shit. That was never the intent. This is just an original imagining of an origins of a supervillain. Whether you take it to heart or whether you don't take it to heart, it's a story I want to tell using this supervillain's name. That's how it was promoted. That's how it was received, and it did really good because they left respect on that name. But this is something that taken the name of Lord of the Rings, going back thousands of fucking years before they even start off Frodo and whatnot. And then it happens to combine different stories that actually take place within different timelines. Look the shit up. Like when I found out about it, I thought that was crazy as hell. And actually taking characters and warping them and changing them in order to fit the concept that they want to have with those characters. Because, well, this story is about this female. Let's make them this badass fighter person and whatnot. And it's like, well, that doesn't make sense continuity wise because that character isn't like that. And it's like, nah, I got this. It's like, I know exactly what she should be like. Well, what she is what people like about her because that's how she was written. That's why she was written to be that way. Nah, it'd be better if she was like this. And it's like, you have just lost the respect on that fucking name. You have then just removed yourself from being anywhere near capable of doing this justice. You have promoted this and sold this as if it was the origins of the Lord of the Rings stories. You have said that it is in connection to the movies, as well as done everything that you possibly can to showcase and try to build some type of um, trust bond with the fandom to let them know that you are going to be following or you are going to keep in touch with the thing that led them to love the Lord of the Rings in the first place, whether it be the books or the movies. And in doing so, you have not respected the name, immediately contradicted yourself with the characters, went against the lore, which was something that even the movies were able to definitely fucking establish and keep hold of. Like, even the Hobbit movie didn't break away from the concept of the fact that, guess what? Most of the characters in these stories are white. That's an undeniable fact. They're white. And it was like you weren't even able to keep up with the continuity of that. You have people immediately questioning not only the fact that you made a black dwarf, which doesn't make any sense because most not dwarf but dwarfs. Not only did you made a black dwarf, which don't make any sense because they mostly live underground, so how could they get the necessary skin pigmentation that would make them black? But also the fact that a major actual character thing is that most dwarf women look like men because of the fact that they actually grow beards, which is something that people immediately started screaming about, which is hilarious to me because why do it? Like, why even have it? If you want to see a bearded lady, how easy it could have been for you to get like a transgendered whatever to sit there and play the part of a dwarf with a beard. How wonderful it would have been to check those boxes. Oh, well, we had to make them black, but representation. Salute. Salam alaikum. Alaikum salam, nigga. But no. It's incredibly exhausting that we're now dealing with so many people who essentially are just so easily capable of taking a name of something and ensuring that they can make something out of it, or like being told, hey, take this property that's already its own little thing that has its own fan base, have people who are just so well versed in the lore that they live, breathe, and die by this shit, and you do whatever the fuck you want. You got it. And these people say okay, and they don't look up information about stuff. They don't study characters. They don't even fucking read the goddamn books, which clearly is the case when it comes to this Lord of the Rings thing. And it's like, I'm pretty sure they have people talk about different story elements and whatnot that happen, and then they was like, let's just mush all that together and then hope for the best, or let's mush all that together and I know we're gonna do the best because fuck it, I'm the director and the script writer, and you're not. So that makes me the big boss monkey man, and you're not. I just, like I said, I feel for you guys. It's sad that this is happening to you because no one wants to see this happen to their fandom. But much like the for canon's sake YouTube guy, like it's something that he said, which I agree with, which is the fact that there are more people who are adamantly upset over something, who would be adamantly upset over something like this because Tolkien is that fucking huge. And the backlash from it when it does come out, because it will come out and it will be shit on like crazy, because out the gate, people don't like it. So this is just from fucking seeing pictures of it, let alone the goddamn opening trailer. So out the gate, people don't like it. And it's like the backlash that'll come from that will hopefully do something that will change and stop shit like this from happening hereafter, which is all that we could possibly hope for because of the fact that Tolkien's work is that big. But I'm not gonna hold my breath, but at the same time, now you see what it's like when the shoe is on the other foot. And hopefully I'll never have to see another tragedy like the Dragon Ball Evolution movie. It's been fun. So yeah, no, about the end of it. Yeah, yeah, no, 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 yeah, yeah. Mm, 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 mm. So moving right along, apparently I have a issue with anime when it comes to stagnation. This is actually something that kind of had an epiphany of when I was speaking with my friends. I actually did something talking about standards and stuff, but it did not record correctly because I don't know why. Thanks, Anchor. And I wasted basically an hour speaking. So that's hunky dory. But I will get into this, which will basically lead into other stuff and blah 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 blah. Quit your bitching. But stagnation in anime, if you do not know, I've been, crying and moaning about how I get upset at anime because, like I said, hey, my bread and butter, it's the thing that got me into a bunch of stuff in terms of nerdom. It was either this or guns and drugs, so I had to pick one, and I picked anime. But I really am upset at the fact that the more you get involved and the more you understand and start watching anime, the more boring it can get as things become less creative and far more commercial. There's way too many anime that are based around manga that actually have pretty decent and good concepts, but the studios that made the anime basically came at it with like such a lackluster sense of vigor that it really just was a depressing feat for anyone that was involved in it, that just made the anime completely either unwatchable or just boring as shit. And then you have even the worst opposition, which is essentially that an anime is only made in an attempt to heighten the sales of like a light novel or a manga. So it has nothing to do with actually the longevity of an anime, whether or not it's popular or anything else. It's strictly because they just want to increase the sales of another form of this story. And that's depressing to find out or to hear about or something, especially if like there's an anime that you generally like really click with and it's like, oh yeah, they're not going to do any more of it. Yeah, that's sad. I've also I remember saying this to someone and them telling me about do I feel that way about Golden Boy? And the answer is no. Um, I know, strange as that might be. If you didn't know, Golden Boy is my favorite manga. Not mom, misspoke. Golden Boy is my favorite anime, and the manga, like the anime only has 6 episodes, but the manga has about like 10 volumes. So obviously, there's way more to the story of Golden Boy than what is presented in the anime, and that's fine and that's cool. But the thing is that I've read all of the Golden Boy manga, and upon me declaring and stating that the anime is my favorite, the inclusion of the rest of the stories within the manga I consider unnecessary because they don't do anything. And then considering the fact that the anime itself kind of ends abruptly, it doesn't really need to have that as like anything else. Even the extra little tidbits that are similar to the episodes that are done within the original like that, like there's certain chapters within the manga that are similar to some of the that are similar to the episodes that they've had within the anime. And it's like, yeah, you can get the same feeling if they were to add those as well, but it's strictly unnecessary. Really, they kind of did the best that they did, and then even the last episode of the anime is completely and strictly original. So it's cool. Like it's fine the way that it is. I see nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, I'm not even sure if the anime itself was even made to facilitate or increase the sales of the manga. And honestly, I don't care. But at the same time, I understand that even though that's done and it generally kind of ends on a bad note for certain anime, for certain manga and whatnot, or anime that are created and whatnot. Like I said, when it's done without any type of care or whatnot towards the anime, it's just I'm only doing this to increase the sales, and that's all I care to do. But if it's done with a sense of like, yeah, this isn't really gonna make this thing pop off like that because it's done with something that's not really, that's it's kind of building in a media that's shifting towards this type of demographic. So us doing this is cool, but don't really expect anything else to pop off from it. When you come at it with that expectation, then you create something like the magistry that is Golden Boy, then hey, I'm all for it. But when you make something that essentially ends on a cliffhanger or or a big mystery that didn't get solved or anything like that, and it basically just leaves your audience with the, well, what happened? And then you just kind of are like, you read the book, and then yeah, I get upset at shit like that. But I'm going off tangent in terms of what I mean by stagnation. But what I'm getting at in terms of being stagnant is the fact that shit like that is a reoccurring problem. And I say problem because it is a problem. The fact that you kind of come out the gate with a half-assed demeanor towards manga and anime, which is strictly let's make a quick buck and fuck everything else as a byproduct from that, then you basically have situations that can lead horrible in terms of actually presenting a really good or decent story. Take Berserk for example. The original Berserk anime is rough around the ages is rough around the edges and really kind of bleh. It's just bleh, or whatever, and it wasn't really anything that good. Now you actually have Madhouse hunker down and deliver three fucking movies that essentially everyone and anyone who was a fan of Berserk could tell you did really well in capturing exactly the look and the feel of that said manga. And it just did wonders for the fandom and made so many people happy and whatnot. And honestly, they should have continued presenting and pumping out movies and whatnot. Now, lo and behold, it is something that a lot of people need to realize is that Berserk is not as popular as you think it is. It's sad that the creator passed away, but realistically, a lot of people jumped on that bandwagon after he passed away because they found out about what Berserk was and what it was accomplishing after the fact that he died. But it's not that popular. I'm not saying it's not good. I'm just saying it's not that popular. Thus, why it took so damn long for them to even do the movies in correlation to when that thing originally came out and whatnot. But that doesn't change the fact that the movies themselves did a great deal and a great job of facilitating and presenting the actual story for Berserk in the way that it should have been told. And then you see the anime that was made after as a byproduct of that, when it was like, oh, the popularity of Berserk is actually well and good, and people actually are generally willing to watch it and like it, and it could easily bring forth like a brand new fandom or brand new audience that would be interested in looking at it, that essentially just missed the bus when it came by, that probably got people into the manga as well as people who didn't look at anything of the original anime, or people who were generally interested in the story that was being shown throughout the movies. And what did they do with that? They essentially had um, a studio under a studio under a studio handle it, basically as third party, whoever, and there was no direction, no real connectivity, no real direction, no back and forth between anyone, and they just had like just so many hands touching this project, and none of them knew what the fuck it was that they were working with. And the idea of making it 3D because it's cheaper made a 2 season long clusterfuck of an anime that honestly is just disgusting to watch or to even look at. Like, it just, looking at it for a little bit could make you violently ill. It just looks so terrible as an anime. And yet, Berserk is beloved. It has so many people who think that it's great. It is something that should be revered. It has an amazing story, has amazing characters, all of this jazz. And yet it is approached with such a meh demeanor when it comes to actually showcasing it as an anime, that you have an anime that not only is completely ugly just to even fucking look at, slow as hell, has none of the finite detail that is presented within the manga, which literally is something that anime has always been able to elevate because of the fact that now, rather than these detailed still pictures, we can have these detailed moving pictures. And you also have huge sections of the story literally cut out from your anime strictly because of either censorship issues or overall just unmitigated nonsense being trying to be shuffled together because they would rather squish a whole couple of arcs and segments together to fill in one season rather than tell the story the way that it was meant to be told. And that to me is literally a perfect personification as to what exactly is wrong with the stagnative attitude when it comes to manga and anime. They constantly put out, promote, and showcase different anime that just really is bad, boring, dumb, stupid. I mean, I get mad anytime I see anything that gets promoted or is created by JC staff. They generally fuck up all the time. The shit that they make is incredibly boring and uninteresting, but they just make the cheapest and ugliest animes ever. Even when taking something that has an original manga, they deviate so far away from the original artwork's design that it's like, why even make it if you just don't care? But there, they do it for money. Hell, you have the company of Sunrise, which generally produces and makes anything with giant robots. Even though they own Gundam, they still only make giant robot shit. And it's weird. It's super weird that they do that. And it's like, you guys just keep trying to remake Gundam. You own Gundam. Why are you doing that? Make better shit. Make newer shit. You have so many light novels and whatnot based around Gundam and everything. Facilitate that. I mean, they did the Hataway's Flash movie, and that's cool because that's a light novel. And even Char's counterattack is technically based off of a light novel. And there's a story based off of the movie, which is based off of a light novel from Char's counterattack. So, and there's different aesthetics to the lore, different aesthetics to the characters and things like that, and all that, and that's fine. But when you start seeing the pattern that comes with anime and whatnot, I mean, this is definitely apparent within like shonen and whatnot, where it's like, oh yeah, the three-man team bullshit is being done over and over again. We have a character with a hidden power deep inside of him because we need to copy Dragon Ball Z Super Saiyan nonsense. We have someone whose lineage affects their overall talent or their importance within the story and whatnot. Your dad can't just be a guy. No, your dad had to be the guy, and then you just didn't know that, and thus explaining why you're so fucking amazing. Let's leave your like characters' essential background as well as their lineage a complete mystery, thus amplifying more what they got going on. And that's really is similar in copying like Spider-Man, but at the same time uh then trying to lead it into being something where it was like, oh no, like it turns out you were the chosen one all along. Oh, really? So it kind of deals with that chosen one mentality, which is not just Spider-Man, but also Star Wars and Harry Potter. Parents are dead. I'm with my aunt and uncle. Yeah. Yeah, Harry Potter did the same thing. Jesus Christ, didn't even think about that. Um, no, Star Wars, yeah, Harry Potter, Star Wars. Parents, I mean, uncle and an uncle, fucking burned alive by the Empire. But it, it's such a copycat mentality behind everything that yeah, it generally is understandable why people get fed up and bored with everything that they got going on. Um, I mean, and it's not to say that this sometimes, doesn't work out for the better. I'm not saying that this is just completely negative and that they should just wipe the slate clean and start over. No, what I'm saying is that essentially there needs to be more care implemented into anime in order to basically not get this stagnation, which can easily be done considering how much innovative anime has become, as well as like the mangas and light novels and everything like that. Look at the isekai genre. That literally is like a genre, I want to say a good 10 years in the making. And considering like the longevity of anime, that's not that fucking long. But at the same time, the fact that isekai basically has like cornered the market and being something that is done every fucking season, you gotta respect that. I mean, it used to be where a harem was the main thing that was pushed and facilitated like the most in anime. And it was annoying because they never did anything with that scenario, and then they changed the game and made it an isekai. And then they killed two birds with one stone by making most isekais harems in the first place. But now we're essentially finding that stagnation that came with the implementation of the harem genre. We're now getting that with the isekai genre. Nothing really is changing. You just have the same scenario of a dude goes to another world and he has a superpower. Whatever that superpower is justifies whatever action that he does within this world. But the character is unlikable, really unwatchable because of just how fucking boring they are, and is trying to condone or facilitate a blank slate. That way you can put yourself in that character's shoes. Literally the exact same fucking thing that happens with the harem genre. But because the character has no type of personality, no sense of being or sense of worth, then you really have nothing to latch on to. So even if he's meant to be a blank slate, when he has no drive, then that blank slate scenario doesn't fit right, because I'm not looking at a human being. I'm looking at literally a fantasy figure inside of a fantasy world. And that's not entertaining. Oh, I'm surrounded by a bunch of beautiful women, but I only like my one girl in my other world. You don't even know if you can get back to your other world. Oh no, I gotta keep my chastity. Why? What is going on with you? Why are you like this? Because she's my childhood friend. I talk to her every night. And if you know what anime I'm talking about, that's hilarious and good for you. But still, it's it's terrible when you see shit like that, because it's like, yeah, you can't identify or relate to anything with the character, because it's like no real person in that situation would act like this. So why are you trying to showcase that a person in this situation would act like this? It's not real. It's not realistic. Even if your argument is that, well, it's anime, it's not really meant to be realistic. Well, why isn't the character being a character? Why isn't he being a person? Even if he was to do these actions or commit to this shit, because it's not like I haven't seen it before, heard it all before. We danced this dance. Let's dance it again. There's nothing wrong with that, but at least make something about what he's doing or who he is. Make him an individual, make him someone that I'm actually willing to look at. Even if he doesn't want to be with these women or whatnot, make the fact that he doesn't want to be with them something that I would look at and not question, but essentially confirm, like, yeah, that's the kind of guy that wouldn't let that happen. Not just because Japanese has this weird fucking issue when it comes to letting people either explore or condone sexual activities or their own sexuality with other people. It's really weird. Look it up. Well, you don't need to look it up, but it's just really weird for a country that literally has red light districts and fucking love hotels to be so closed off when it comes to like indoctrinating sex or how their teenagers handle sex within the anime industry. Fucking weird. Any other media that they have within Japan treats people like they're people, but when it comes to anime, it treats them like they're fucking Fabergé eggs that just cannot be damaged. Oh my god, you being a virgin is something that we can mock you and make fun of you for, but at the same time, none of the characters that are actually virgins commit or um, basically argue back at anyone else because of the fact that they too would also fit in that same realm. Nah, it doesn't work. It's okay for a girl to bully a guy and say that he's a virgin, but at the same time, it's like if the guy bullies the girl and say that she's also a virgin, it doesn't mean anything, because it's like, yeah, her keeping her chastity is good for her, but you keeping your chastity is bad for you. Meh. It's weird how they handle their double standards, but at the same time, fucking anime, fucking manga. But going back as to what I mean when I said, like, there's a positive side to, or like, I'm all for innovative, even if you're doing things, but just having a sense of caring. Literally think of Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist is an anime that had 50 episodes. The manga only had 3 fucking volumes when it decided to make the anime. There was no way in hell that the anime were going to be able to encompass everything that was inside the manga. And they literally kind of just go from the 3 volumes and then they just make up whatever the fuck they want. And Full Metal Alchemist was a big fucking deal. It was a really good anime. It was a really well thought out and a really well executed anime. Had a wonderful movie that a lot of people liked. Um, I thought it was okay. I thought the series was okay. And then upon finding out that the series essentially takes a huge fucking left turn from the manga, was completely disheartened by it, because it was like, wow, this was a huge total change. It was a huge change, tone shift, everything. Even situations, characters, and like how the homunculus even functioned were totally fucking different. Didn't know that it was like that because I've only seen the anime. And then a few years later, we got Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, which a lot of people didn't even know or recognize as the actual true story to the Fullmetal Alchemist story. Fullmetal Alchemist story, but essentially either thought it was a sequel or a reboot, which is crazy, but that's what happened. And generally, I feel that that was something that kind of hindered a lot of people actually getting into Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, to actually seeing it and watching it and accepting that story in tandem to the original story. But the damage is done. The anime that came out beforehand already did the damn thing. Already got people liking the characters, already got the crazes of the homunculus, people walking around with the goddamn symbols on everything, all that jazz. That passed. And so then when Brotherhood came out, it was only a handful of people that actually was willing to even look at the damn thing. And then those who either were fans of the original content but still want to see more, or people who are generally just interested in anime and they just eat up everything, and those who just watch anime for the fuck of it, got to see it, got to watch it, respected the hell out of it, saw that it was it. It's sad to say, but it generally, Brotherhood is better than the original anime. The Brotherhood anime is better than the original anime. Um, Got to see and understand and say like, oh yeah, Brotherhood is on that level. That's pretty cool. But the train already left the station. People were on to the other thing. Anime works in fads. You kind of have to deal with that. Like Brotherhood came and went, and that's all she wrote. So all I'm saying is that there's nothing wrong with doing things. Uh, there's nothing wrong with facilitating or keeping anime in a constant notion of pumping out all these new ideas or having a twist on a used genre mechanic or anything like that. There's nothing wrong with that nonsense. But when you make it to where it's not fucking interesting, that's the issue. When you have it to where it's this is the same notes being done over and over and over again, then yeah, I'm not gonna fucking like it. One of the things that I always praised Black Clover for was the fact that one, it actually implemented the concept of a rival correctly, rather than a lot of other shonens that just kind of have a dude around that's capable of being on the same level as the main character but never beating him. When it actually had in Black Clover was an actual rival. Naruto and Sasuke's back and forth wasn't that of a rival. It was Naruto being lesser than Sasuke, and then Sasuke constantly just being equal to Naruto without actually having to work for it. He would just be granted powers that allowed him to be up there with Naruto. Even in situations where it just seems like Naruto had to train to get what he did, Sasuke would just magically become equivalent to him because fuck you, that was his rival. That's what that needed to be, and that's sad. That's sad because that should be how you concoct your story, nor should that be something that you just have to implement because you're working with a shonen. No, think back on Dragon Ball Z. Vegeta is not Goku's rival. If you believe that, then I'm sorry to say that you're a fucking idiot and you don't know Dragon Ball Z as well as you think you do. No, Vegeta was only superior to Goku in about two different incidents within Dragon Ball Z. One being where he first arrived on Earth and he was that much stronger than Goku. And then the other time would be after he came out of the hyperbolic time chamber. But Goku never used Vegeta as a jumping off point or as a threshold to pursue or to reach newer goals or newer strengths in power. That never fucking happened. Vegeta anchored off of Goku because his very existence angered him because of whom he was and what he was. But Goku was someone who strived for strength and to get stronger and to fight stronger people all on his own merit, not because Vegeta was better than him. Even when Vegeta came out the hyperbolic time chamber stronger than him, Goku didn't care. He was like, wow, you're way stronger now. Whoop-de fucking do. While Vegeta was just so animate and hyped up at the fact that Goku doesn't even need to go to hyperbolic time chamber because it's over with. He got this in the bag. Everything's on lock now because Vegeta is Vegeta. And that's their dynamic. That's who they were. But that's something that basically got mistranslated or lost in translation, if you will, and obviously led to so many people trying to copy and facilitate what they thought they saw that it led to a bunch of stagnative storytelling of something that doesn't even correlate or even reaches the fraction of what it was that they actually looked at. And thus an issue that I have with stagnation. They are so desperate to try and copy something that was essentially big in the past or to make the next big thing or the next best thing. Because again, anime works in fads, and this is very true. But because there's no type of care or intentiveness added to it, there's no type of sense of fucking of just some type of fulfillment in the goddamn thing that is just done in terms of just being incredibly commercial, just to market something, to sell something, or to even just have a cute little anime girl somewhere so some dude can make a dojin about her. It doesn't do anything. And then it exists and then people move the fuck on. And realistically, anime does not need to do that because it is a very superior art form. Kame Ga Kill is an anime that basically was really fucking terrible, that went away from what the manga originally intended, and really doesn't matter either way because both of them ended terribly. But there's just so many incidents where it's like you're just so quick to break away or to not care about what the original artist had in planned or what they had in mind or doing anything to facilitate joy or excitement or anything different from your audience member rather than just the same rigmarole that they've already seen or done before, that you have made these boring typical anime series that just people are kind of whatever for. Now, you taking this into account and you put together like a bunch of people screaming about shit like Demon Slayer or um Attack on Titan or was it My Hero Academia and shit like that. And then you sit there, and as much as people might sit there and bring those series up because Americans and anime literally can be divided into just being shonen lovers and that's it. You kind of forget the fact. Well, they don't understand or don't realize the fact that a majority of people who watch anime as a whole will look at fucking idol animes, which come out every goddamn year. And they outnumber everyone who looks at shonen. Even though the shonen shit is as popular as they say that it is, it's the other stuff that actually makes and does more. But that stuff is only around and contributed by the fact that it is constantly doing the same shit over and over and over and over and over again. So you have a majority of the industry just doing the exact same shit over and over and over again. But only the small diamonds in the rough of the industry get called out for their originality as well as their intentiveness towards creating a series that people generally like and are interested in. And then you just somewhere in the middle, someone fucks up and they don't let them know that, hey, if we reach the same type of care that we had in this series that everyone is talking about and loving and whatnot, with every other series that we got going on, anime could be bigger than it has ever been. And more people would just flock to it and love this industry for what it is that we all fell in love with it in the first place, which is that this is something different. This is something that a lot of people don't do. This is taking the beautiful concept of animation, which gets rid of so many limitations that live action has, and it is able to bring it together with these just wonderful, magnificent stories to tell these wonderful, magnificent tales filled with all of these wonderful characters and things like that. And all we have to do is not fuck it up by just making all of it this unbelievably boring quicksand where you just sink, if you don't get that analogy, you just keep sinking deeper and deeper. You try to pull yourself out, but you just keep sinking in more quicksand. And honestly, if you try to get into anime, that's kind of what you feel like now because of the stagnation. So I would like for them to make better anime. I would like to be excited every year when the lineup comes out, and it's not just one anime that I actually watch when I look up about like a good four that are even worth looking at for a season. But instead, when I look at that huge, elongated list, I'm like, I don't even know if I have time to look at all of that. That is what I want. But who knows when the fuck I'll get that? Who knows? Hey, before you go, I just wanted to say thank you for tuning in and make sure you like, comment, and subscribe for more content, which is sure to come. If you want me to discuss a topic, by all means, please leave a comment below and I'll definitely make sure that I'll get to it. You can check me out on any platform that basically hosts podcasts. Just type in Fun with Flame and I'm sure you'll find something. Don't worry about that. But as always, I just sincerely want to say thanks for tuning in. This has been another episode of Fun with Flame. I've been your host, Daniel the Flame, and as always, good people, I hope you had some fun.